In this week's episode of Superhero Saturday, we're going to talk about the different types of superhero costumes, from the all-too-revealing spandex muscle suits to robot-powered body armor, and even casual DIY costumes. Let's get dressed for superhero success! Hello, super friends, and welcome back to another episode of Superhero Saturday, where we talk about the arts of superheroes, storytelling, and so much more. My name is Annie, and I have been a fan of superheroes for my whole life. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's that a lot of superhero costumes look more or less the same to people, especially to outsiders. However, there are a few distinct categories of superhero costumes that distinguish certain types of heroes from the rest. And that is what we're going to talk about in today's video. What we're going to do is walk through each of the 7 different categories that I have come up with, which are based on, years of intensive study, aka thousands upon thousands of hours of consuming superhero fiction. Quick disclaimer, I do want to note that I did originally have a category for superheroes that used some kind of external device or object or entity to do their crime fighting, like a remote controlled robot or something, but technically that's outside of their body. It's not a costume that they put on, so I decided to exclude it. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Our categories of superhero costume design types are going to fall on a spectrum from least amount of coverage to most amount of coverage. However, the first category is actually no coverage. For characters like the Silver Surfer, modesty really has no place, and they really just straight up don't even have a costume on them. Their physical existence requires no exterior protection. Basically, the epidermis is all they need. Also in this category are shapeshifters who can control what type of clothes appear on their body, because even though it sort of is clothes, it's also technically part of their body because they can manipulate it with their mind, which is kind of super weird if you think about it too hard, but let's not. Now, of course, this category does not have to include just humanoid type superheroes. It includes superheroes that have any body type, whether they're an insect or an alien or a weird robot combination analogy. This can lead to some real interesting character designs, but it is a common character design nonetheless, and so it has its own category. The next category is just one step up, which is the barely there category. Think about superheroes like Wonder Woman, or the Hulk, or Halle Berry's Catwoman, which isn't really a superhero anyway, sort of. I don't know what happened with that movie. These costumes leave very little to the imagination and are often hyper-sexualized, and so provide the superhero with very little real-world protection. This category is almost entirely devoted to characters whose costumes have been designed by creators who really just want to see the most skin possible. Sometimes it's for their own pleasure, or they are pandering to a certain audience perspective. Despite this, most of these characters' creators would not say that they're pandering to a certain audience perspective, or that they're just drawing something that they think looks hot. Instead, they'll give some half-baked excuse for a backstory that provides context for the character's costume. Like, this is just their style, or it represents their history and backstory, or something dumb like that. That doesn't mean every costume in this category is all bad, because some characters really do only require very little protection on the outside, and some of that protection might actually hinder their ability to use their superpowers. For example, the Thing from Fantastic Four. It's just an unfortunate truth that most of the characters in this category are the victims of sexualization. Next, we have a category that is technically more coverage than the previous one, but really shows just as many curves, and that is the spandex jumpsuit. Superheroes like Superman, Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man fall into this skin tight category. The reason this design is so popular is because back in the day when everything was painstakingly hand drawn, it was really a lot easier to just make something that was simple and not bulky and easy to reproduce without a bunch of extra lines or thinking. Plus, it also showed off the character's beefy musculature, which was often really common in these superhero characters, and seemed to help them fight crime by being more able to punch out bad guys. However, the transition off the page for these types of superhero costumes is a little tricky. Because, let's be real here, not many people look that great in 100% spandex costumes. Plus, unless it's really breathable material and really flexible, I doubt it would be very comfortable to do anything in, much less fight crime. Our next category takes the muscle suit costume up a level with the head-to-toe protective material suit. This is the type of costume that has been seen most often in the big blockbuster movie hits from the 2000s and the 2010s, and is actually the logical jump from the spandex costumes of the old-time comic days into the real world of live action with heavy CGI. Examples for this category include Superman and Batman from the most recent movie iterations, to the X-Men characters from the 2000s series, and even Hancock. While the actual material for these costumes is generally different from character to character, or just straight up not even mentioned at all, the concept of this category is that the character will get all of the benefits of the spandex jumpsuit, plus actual durable physical protection. That way we don't have to worry about the spandex tearing on the first punch, or for the hero to have to feel every impact of the blows dealt by the bad guys. Plus, these costumes are usually from the neck down, so modesty is pretty decent on this. But, even bonus, you get the approval of the classic comic fans and the shimmer of the sun shining off of every major muscle group. Kind of the best of both worlds here. Our next costume is the modified civilian clothes category, or the DIY costume. This type of costume is for the heroes who don't have access to cutting-edge materials or can't afford to be replacing their costumes after every fight. Think about Spider-Man Miles Morales, or Constantine, or the Punisher. These characters take ordinary everyday clothes with them into the battlefield, or at least the same outfit every single time they go out and fight. These elements are easy to find and replace and usually don't cost very much. Plus, you don't have to worry about changing your outfit in a back alley where you might lose your stuff. Plus, they come with the added benefit of being really easy to cosplay, so this one has a soft spot in my heart. The next category is even more practical than the first, and this is the warrior's costume. This costume is entirely designed around the superhero's weapons and tools, and is far more utilitarian than stylized. Theoretically, Batman's costume is actually in the warrior category because he has his utility belt, he has his body armor, and he even has his black cowl and cape to strike fear into the hearts of the criminals of Gotham. Thor's costume is also really just essentially stylized Asgardian battle armor. And Doctor Strange falls into this category as well because most of the things that are part of his costume, including his sentient cape, are magical items designed to be used. If the most defining feature of your superhero's costume is their weapon, then it falls into this category. And lastly, our final category slides all the way up the spectrum of coverage to full body armor. The most iconic example of this is, of course, Iron Man and all of his, co-conspirators who use the same kind of technology. This suit is something that he puts on and covers his entire body, and it gives him protection against attack, it gives him tools to deal out justice, and it even gives him information about the battle at hand. These costumes are as much a part of the superhero's arsenal as they are their aesthetic. Whether digital, alien, or magical, this kind of suit is a complete coverage costume that you wouldn't be able to recognize who the superhero is outside of their suit. So there you have it, my list of 7 different superhero costume categories. What do you guys think? Do you think that I covered everything, or is there anything that I'm missing? And what are your favorite types of superhero costumes? Go ahead and put those down in the comments below and we'll continue the conversation there. And thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and give us a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you would like to see more superheroic content every single Saturday. You can join the team by following us on social media or by supporting us over on Patreon. And if you want to see my own superheroes in action, which are in one of these and maybe even more of these categories that I listed for superhero costumes, you can head on over to our website at www.fearless9.com and pick up some books that might just contain your new favorite superheroes. Thank you so much for watching, Super Friends, and we'll see you next week.